Hey, what's up? All right, my name is Cam Arkins, and I was chosen to present about and research into Bernard Leach. Uh, Here in the top right, here's a little photo of him in his later years, and then on the left, there's just a couple pieces of his work. Okay, so a little bit about his early life. In January 1887, he was born in Hong Kong, and here's a picture of Hong Kong in the late 1800s. Same with the other two photos, which I'll talk about in a minute. He was born, and I couldn't find it. His mother either died during his birth or like right after. So he was only grew up with his father. His father was a judge of some sort, which involved him to travel a lot. So a young Bernard was kind of forced to travel from Hong Kong to Singapore to Japan. It would end up going back to Hong Kong to spend his like later childhood in, but he traveled quite a bit, um, which I think was the reason the way he was in his later years, which I'll get to later. Um, in what was it, 1903, he would travel to England at the age of 21, and in England he would study at the London School of Art and the Slade School of Fine Art. These are two world-renowned art schools based in England. While there, he apprenticed and learned under the teachings of Frank. Here's his name. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I just was not able to, and I'm not going to force it. But Frank was a multidisciplinary artist. He primarily focused in paintings, which you can see on the left, but he did a ton of other works. He did etching, drawing. I know he did a bit of like glass work. If it's an art, if you can name it, he probably dabbled in it in some sort. Um, in 1909, he would return to Japan with the goal of teaching etching. And what is etching? Great question, because I had to look it up too. From what I've gathered from it, it is taking this little like pen-like sharp structure and using a super strong acid to draw, cut away, and kind of eat into metal. And then the top and then the right one are two photos of it. But yeah, that's what Bernard Leach originally like studied for and wanted to teach. Um, and then it wouldn't be until 1911 where he found ceramics, and he found ceramics at what's known as a ceramics party. I really don't know what a ceramics party was. I couldn't find any information exactly on it, but I'm assuming it's kind of where a collection of artists all kind of meet up to share techniques, works, just to kind of collaborate with one another, and other artists coming to see their work. But he found ceramics there, kind of was introduced to it, and kind of got a big interest about it. And then so he would go to one of his friends, colleagues, and apprentice under Tomimoto Kinshai, which here's a photo of him in the middle, and then some of his work on the side. Tomimoto, he focused a lot on like ancient Chinese techniques, and kind of incorporating those in a modern sense. So Bernard Leach, he would begin to start doing kind of his own work. He focused a lot on like raku work, very simplistic designs, but would incorporate those ancient techniques into his ceramics. So in 1915-ish, I couldn't find an exact date. I found a couple different dates, but it was around that time. Bernard Leach was introduced to the religion of Baha'i. I think I'm pronouncing that, but I very well might be wrong. But he was introduced from a woman who was traveling, was what I think born in Hawaii, went to England, and was traveling to Hong Kong, and she was kind of promoting the word of this religion. And I had to look up what Baha'i was. It is kind of a collection of religions all around the world, taking different philosophies, ideologies, teachings, practices from them, and bringing it into one. And then here's a couple of the ideals kind of on this picture. But it sought to unite people and put away their differences and bring everybody together, which honestly I kind of agree with that. But Bernard Leach, he wouldn't accept it like formally as his religion, but really liked the practices that it was trying to teach, and he would begin to kind of try to adopt it into his own like ceramics. So in what was it, 1920, he moved back to England, and in England he would collaborate with Hamad Shojai, which here's a photo of him on the left. And they would start up and found the Leach pottery, which on the top right's a photo of it, and it was built in St. Ives, Cornwall, England. And then here's a couple of photos of it on the inside. It's pictures of it now. It is now a museum to honor and teach about the two's studio. But here, he kind of built it to become an international hub where people from all around the world would come and learn about his philosophies, learn about Shojai's philosophies, the way they made ceramics, and then also to collaborate with other people from around the world. It really promoted collaboration and learning and understanding different techniques globally, which kind of leads back to Leach's learning about the Baha'i religion. Okay, so Leach adopted the Baha'i religion, like the practices, and one thing he did was he wanted to unite Western and Eastern ceramics. So here's two pictures. These are kind of pictures more like extreme, just to represent what I was trying to say. But Western ceramics kind of, it was very elegant. It was very detailed. It was pristine. It didn't have a lot of imperfections. Where Eastern was focused a lot of functionality, they allowed those perfections to shine through. And then the glazes, they weren't bright, they weren't vibrant. It showed the more raw material of the clay, which Bernard Leach, he kind of wanted to unite the two. And then kind of going a little bit into his later years. So he would travel a lot. He traveled all around the world, promoting the teachings, and then also learning himself about different techniques and cultures around the world. So his studio, the Leach pottery, it kind of became known as the birthplace of studio pottery. It didn't, I wouldn't say start a revolution, but it influenced a lot of people to pick up studio pottery. And Leach, he really wanted to promote the idea of moving away from mass production of ceramics. He believed that took a lot of the humanity out of it. Rather, he believed ceramics was a more personal experience. It is something you do with your hands rather than just pumping out pot after pot after pot. So he kind of used the studio, or his studio, to promote the idea that pottery and ceramics is not just an art. Yeah, it is like labeled as an art, but it's much more than that. It is an art. It's a philosophy. It's design. It's craft. It's a ton of things put into one, and you kind of have to understand each of them to do well within that field. In his later years, he wrote a couple books. He was awarded the Order of the British Empire, which I had to look up what that was. It's an award given to someone who's like really excelled within their field, and art is one of those fields that it can be ordered to. But he continued teaching. He continued traveling, making his own work until 1979, when he would unfortunately pass away. But even to this day, his teachings still are promoted. The studio is still active. It's kind of became a museum, but they have wheels there. They have places where people can still make their own ceramics and pottery there. And it's a place to educate people, inspire people about ceramics. And then here's a couple photos of them. One little thing that I noticed about Bernard Leach is in every single photo I had of him, he looks happy. I couldn't find a photo of him where he didn't seem like he was not having a good time. And I don't know if that is true or not, but I feel like it speaks to his character on how he was trying to. He really wanted to promote like unity, which again I forgot to say. I think it was in like the 1940s. He would end up accepting the Baha'i religion as his own. Um, where prior to he didn't accept it, he just kind of accepted the teachings of it. And then here's a couple articles I found interesting. The right one's kind of a more in-depth biography on his life. It talked a lot about like him finding religion, and then the one on the left's kind of an overview of his studio, how it started, what happened. It talked a bit about like in I think 1932 there was a fire on one of the kilns because it was built bad and they had to like restart the whole studio. It's just more information on that. And then here's a couple sources that I used on top of the two other articles. And thank you and goodbye.